Hello everyone. My name is Anita Makharia and I'm the founder CEO of Shubhkamnaye Events and Experiences. As event planners, we are into the business of creating mesmerizing experiences and celebrating your happiness. We are a team of young, experienced enthusiasts who believe in creating impactful and truly memorable experiences for our clients. We combine style with elegance and innovations with traditions. We cater to corporate events, social events like weddings and destination weddings, as well as BTL activations. Our offices are in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Pune. Our head office is in Bangalore. And we cater to pan India requirements with our team support. And yes, looking forward to grow. Shubhkamna is one of the most enterprising and promising event management companies across the globe. That's a small brief about my company and me. And today we are here to take our sessions on communication skills. This is our session 2, and here we will explicitly be speaking about the methods of communication. And I hope we know that communication is all about listening, speaking, and responding, keeping some common goals and objectives in mind. What we learned in the previous session of communication skills was what is communication, what is the importance of communication, what do you mean by communication skills, and why is communication required, or what are the requirements of communication. I hope we don't need too much of a recall on this. Still, just for those who need a brush up on these topics, I'll quickly take you through these topics. I hope you all are having your pen and paper with you to make notes. And if you have any questions, just keep noting it down. At the end of the session, I'll be sharing my email ID, so you can write to me in case you have any queries. Okay, so what is communication all about? Yes, communication is an activity or a process of expressing or passing on some information, ideas, or some concepts. It could be even feelings from one person to another, or a place from one place to another place. Okay, it involves it involves certain modes. That is, it involves 3 layers. So there is a message or a sender of the message, then you have a medium of communication, and you have the final recipient of the but particular information. Okay, why is communication important? Because what happens is people just don't buy your goods and services. Events and event industry is all about people management. Here people buy relationships. Here stories sell. Okay, and here you need to create magic. So just as Seth Godin had mentioned, people do not buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. And this can be created with only proper communication, right from source one, that is your client, till your interdepartments within your office organizations, with people outside, be it your venues, be it your vendors and suppliers, be it people with whom you need to liaison, be it your accounts and finance groups as well. Okay, be it your branding and marketing. At any point of time, precise and efficient communication skills are very much important. What do you think is the power of communication? If you are very good at communication, not only do you win your projects or your clients, not only do you increase your business volumes, but you increase brand loyalty, your sales increase. By good communication and networking, you have a scope of increasing your business by increasing the referral numbers. Product royalty is always seen as one of the best, and it's at its peak with effective communication. In case you are into events related to sponsorships, with good communication skills, you tend to attract more donations. Your customers will always remain loyal and you will always get repeat business. This will happen only when these ideas are conceptualized and shared with people in the right manners. Now, if we talk about communication skills, knowing how to speak and communicate with all the stakeholders involved is what makes an event impeccable. Okay, so you need to have the right skill sets and you need to practice it time and again so that these traits of yours can result in proper conversions. Brand representatives need to be very insightful to make sure that the event is highly memorable one. Once one event is scheduled and the dates are finalized, it is time to work on delivery of the same. Okay, and this involves a lot of planning and a complete process which needs to be curated in the within the right timelines with the right frameworks. Okay, the expectations have to be set clearly and the tasks have to be communicated to each department or individuals without having any scope for ambiguities or guessworks. Okay. um, so when we talk about effective communication skills, it is very necessary to have the eye contact with the person whom you are talking in case it is a oral communication. You should have the right body language. Now, as I'm taking this class, if I'm like sitting like this, not in the mood and not presenting myself well, would you be interested in the class? No, you would not be interested. So it is very important that your body language, the way you are looking at the person, the way you are interacting with the person, has to be well kept in the right spirits so that the other person is interested in listening to you and trying to understand the information from the right perspective. You should make sure that the person who is listening to you is able to comprehend and understand and interpret the information the way it is meant to be understood. Having a smiling face always helps because that is where you start building contacts. That is where a bond gets generated, and that is when a person wants to look at you, to listen to you, and tries to understand you. Once you have the entire discussion, it always helps when you summarize this discussion. I always suggest that you should always have a two-way communication where it is not only you who are talking. If you keep talking and the other person is not able to follow you or not understand, and you're not ready to take a feedback and understand whether he is actually comprehending that information in the right manner, your entire purpose of communicating or sharing that particular piece of information, idea, or feelings is completely lost. Hence, you need to encourage having some questions or feedbacks or give them a scope to revert. These are all a part of having effective communication skills. Apart from this, what we would be learning in today's session would be interpersonal skills, verbal communication methods, written communication methods, and a combination of oral and written methods, maybe it in forms of advertisements, etc. Uh, what do you mean by interpersonal communication skills? Interpersonal communication skills refers to the process of exchanging any kind of an information or a concept or an idea or a goal or an objective uh, amongst people through verbal communication or non-verbal forms of communication. These could highly relate to your social skills or people skills. As I always mention that event industry is a people's industry. Here at every level you are dealing with people, right from your client, right from your teams, right from your vendors and suppliers, from your laborers, from your other departments, be it venues, be it hospitality, be it logistics. be it your government licensings. uh, you are dealing with people again and again. So the way you deal with a person, how's your how good you're relating to them, are you maintaining some kind of a decorum, are you being open ended in their conversations, are you welcoming, are you approachable, all this are your interpersonal skills. They include gestures and body language as well. And to a certain extent, your etiquettes and mannerisms play a very, very important role when it comes to effective communication. Now, in case a client is already waiting for you at a scheduled meeting, and he puts his hand forward to give you a shake, to just shake your hand, and you are just in your own world, you don't look at it, and you don't reciprocate the warmth the way he's expecting. Do you think you're making the client feel comfortable? So it is very necessary that you have the right gestures, the right body language, so that the other person is interested in listening to you. After all, event industry is all about selling. It is about selling your ideas, it is about selling your products and services, it is selling your concepts, it is about curations. So at any point of time, it is very necessary that you maintain the right etiquettes and mannerisms. When we talk about etiquettes, we also talk about not interrupting a person when they are speaking. These are small basic mannerisms which are taught to us even as basic habits, basic manners. The same hold good for us in our business world. I hope you all are able to understand so far. As I mentioned, that a part of your interpersonal communication skills include verbal communications. We shall be discussing more on verbal communications, non-verbal communications, the listening skills, which is very, very important, and that is one place where most of the people tend to make mistakes. You should be having very good negotiations and assertiveness skills. Decision making and problem solving skills also are a part of your interpersonal communication. I shall take you through each topic one by one in brief. And in case you still have any doubts, you can always write to me at anitamakharia@gmail.com. The first part of this topic would be verbal communication methods. Now, what do you mean by verbal communication method? It is talking, it is calling a person, it is when you are speaking. Okay, an effective way to start any communication is uh, either you send a text or you write an email, but one of the most effective ways is when you communicate with the person face to face or over a call. Okay, and many times it always helps, especially in case sensitive or time sensitive issues. Your verbal communication is very, very important because it is quicker. Okay, having said that, when it comes to verbal communications, it is a part of maintaining good public relationships. You should have good public speaking skills, wherein it is very important for you, because that is the first meeting, right? If you're not able to communicate well, if you're not able to say what you do, try to understand what the customer wants, try to tell them that yes, we can build upon this idea. This calls in for a lot of confidence, it calls in for leadership qualities, it calls in for impromptu speaking. There is a lot of right vocabularies that is required when you are actually communicating to your clients. Personal meetings always help, because that is when you meet a person, you kind of develop a bond. This is the start of a relationship. So when you have a face to face meeting, or when you have a personal meeting with a person, they kind of trust you more, and it adds on to your credibility. It always is very important to have strong verbal communications, especially when it comes to briefing and debriefing meetings. When you have idea which is communicated to you, you need to communicate the same correctly to your teams for executions or developing the idea further. There are also technology based meetings these days, wherein where you meet people online. Here the communication skills become very important, because the other person is not sitting right in front of you. Your body language may not be very easily seen or understood by the client. So what you say, your facial expressions, the way are you looking at to them, having an eye contact with them, are you being reciprocative to their body language, and are you able to adapt to that changes that they are making in their body language? All this is very important and a part of your communication methods. As I say that verbal communication is very important, it does not mean that written communication modes are not recommended. Written communications are very, very important, especially to reaffirm the confirmations for the particular event, or your process, your ideas, your concepts. Okay, and when drafting any kind of a contract, or any kind of a closures, emails are very, very important. Your internet websites, your letters, your proposals, your telegrams or faxes, your contracts, the way your advertisements are designed or your brochures are made, or any form of a messaging, all these are parts of written communications. Any pertinent information can be crisp and concise in the forms of emails, and this is the right way of communicating, and it actually goes a long way if you can manage this communication in the right manners. At times it becomes very necessary that you have your teams working and delegating work to them. Even in that scenario, when you are delegating the work, it always helps that apart from verbal communication, you reaffirm the discussion through written ways, because they help you both. It acts as a strong reminder. A person can go back to the written message through WhatsApp or through an email or through a SMS. They can revisit the communication and again. So the scope of forgetting or missing out on important details is eliminated. Hence, in today's world, especially in our event industry, it is recommended that you have a combination of both the oral and written methods. This this is very, very much important, because that is when a clarity is set in, and even your client knows what you are doing, and even your team knows what is expected out of them. Giving the entire budget presentations and estimates, giving the designs or the elements involved in an event, or the to-do list for each and every person or department wise, when you do that orally and back it up with written, you are sure that the event success is going to be much more higher. You need to have follow-ups with your clients, with your employees. You need to interact with them and engage them to build this rapport. And only once this rapport is built, you can have lasting relationships. You need to always ensure that this is a open and a two-way communication, getting your entire workforce communicating on one single platform. Always share important information before the event, reconfirm it on the day of the event. Is it enough when only one person talks and there are no listeners in the room? Of course, the key to any effective communication is the art of listening. Listening is one of the most important components of effective communication. As I said, that communication is a two-way process. To increase the effectiveness, the ability to listen is of high importance. A good listener is always a good communicator. Unless you understand what your client wants, you will not be able to do justice to that particular event. Similarly, unless every person or stakeholder or your department representatives know exactly what he or she is expected to do, the event cannot be successful. Hence, one who listens and understands will always be able to communicate more effectively and efficiently. Listening is the key component to ensure that everything is in its place and there is no misunderstanding and the event is very smooth. It is very important that we know once the thought process is clear, this idea has to be conceptualized, and the same needs to be communicated in the right manner to the client, to your departments, to your suppliers and vendors in the right way. Just like how, just as Mr. Stephen Covey says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply, to respond, or to react. And this is where we make the biggest mistake in communication or in any event. Failing to listen properly leads to misunderstandings and missed opportunities. Giving someone the space to talk about themselves and any potential issues gives us better insight for that particular event. You need to speak where it is very important, but at the same time, you should be a good presenter of what you want to speak. So, active listening has various components. It includes your hearing content. You need to listen with feelings. Observe the body language. When you listen, it is not just listening the words of the person who is speaking. You also understand a lot when you observe the body language of a person. And when you listen, listen with an open mind. Don't get judgmental. Be neutral. Be self aware. And try to question people if there is no clarity, or if you, and always try to give a feedback, or ask for clarifications where you feel that the information is not relevant enough or is withheld for any reason or is incomplete. When you clarify this, you always summarize again what was discussed, and that is when you actually reinstate the faith that yes, what you heard or what you spoke is understood and interpreted in the right manner. Having strong negotiation skills is very, very important as an event planner. uh, you will want to negotiations come at every level. Okay, so when a client is sitting with you, negotiations come in place there, because the client will want you to deliver the best. They will want you to consider the goals and objectives. They'll want you to consider each and every element with no compromise on quality or quantities. But at the same time, when it comes to budget estimations, they will want you to give the best in the least possible rates. This is where your negotiation skills come of huge importance. You will need to negotiate in terms of ideas, in terms of concepts within your teams. Negotiation skills comes again when you are dealing with your vendors and suppliers, because they are strong negotiators too. Only when you are able to get a good price and good quality from your suppliers and from your vendors will you be able to deliver the same to the client. So if you cannot negotiate well with your suppliers and vendors, you will not be able to give the best price to the client, and the scope of losing that particular event or that particular client increases. So it is very important for you to understand the skills of negotiations. Skills of negotiations do not mean that you become hardcore and a Hitler in your rating, pricing, or rate policies, or your finances. Always be adaptable to incorporate changes, to understand the client requirements, make some necessary changes. You need to practice the skill of negotiations very strongly. For this, you have to have a strong strategy in place so that you know to what level. Some people negotiate for just for the heck of negotiating. Okay, maybe you're giving the best price, but just because I'm the client and I feel that okay, you're giving me at 35 rupees per square feet as the stage. Come on, you can give it to me at 25 without understanding what kind of elements you're giving. What is the size of stage? Are you giving me a new platform? Are you giving me is included or not? So without understanding the logic, some people want to negotiate. Hence, have a strategy in place, be flexible, and be very sincere with your client. Be upfront and be transparent with them. Clients always respect transparency. They always welcome suggestions from you, but as long as it is not to increase your billings, of course, we want to add on elements so that we enjoy the benefits of having bigger elements and more components. But at the same time, understand to read the other party needs and be ready to compromise at times. You need to visualize the possible gains and not the losses which might incur. By that I mean that when you think that okay, for once you think that okay, let me keep a 25% margin in this particular event. Okay, so you may quote say 10 lakhs to the client, assuming that maybe 75 uh, say say you're quoting 10 lakhs to the client. Okay, but it is only 7.5 lakhs is your actual expenditure, and you want to make 2.5 lakhs out of that event. But your client does not want to spend 10 lakhs. He says, no, this is beyond my budget. What is the best that you can do? Say 8.5 or 9 is what I can stretch. Now, 8.5 or 9 is what he can do. Now, can you renegotiate? Can you rework your elements and prices in such a way? See, anyway, your cost of production is 7.5. So, even if it is 9, it is 1.5 lakhs that you're gaining there. So, the possibility of gain is what? 1.5 lakhs. What is your possibility of loss? 1 lakh. Is it a loss? No. It is a gain which is not coming to you. That does not mean that it is a loss. Now, suppose the client is very adamant that if you're not doing it in 9 lakhs, I'm not giving you the adamant. Now, it depends on your business strategies, on your way of thinking, whether you want to accept that 1.5 lakhs as your profits, or do you want to leave that particular event because you're not able to make 2.5 lakhs. This is where your skills of compromising, your skills of visualizing the possible gains, your skills of reading the other party needs and being flexible and sincere plays a vital role. It is like, do you want to earn a lot of money in this one event, or do you want to have this B2B client who's going to give you repeat business, and instead of making 2.5 in one event, you make 1.5, 1.5, 1.5 in 3 events. Now, this again depends on lots of this is dependent on lots of other elements and components and situations and your relationships with the client. When you talk about the types of communication, as I discussed, we have verbal communications where you are talking and non-verbal communications where it is basically through written communications, or when a person is talking to you, you just tend to nod your head either in agreement or in disagreement, or you suddenly look lost and you're in some thoughts. All this are a part of communication. When I see a person nodding in agreement, I understand that yes, the person is understanding and is with me on this particular point. Or when I see them nodding a no or shaking their head in the no, I understand that okay, this person is not in agreement. Maybe I need to explain this point again, or ask him what is it that he's not able to understand, or why is he in disagreement. Am I able to convince him after this discussion? Okay, so when we talk about types of communication, you have aggressive communications, you have passive communication, you have a passive aggressive communication, which is kind of a combination, and then you have assertive communication. What do you mean by aggressive communication? Aggressive is like, it is like you are loud, you are adamant, you are very strong headed, you are demanding it. Okay, so the kind of postures that you might use are, thumping the table and being very loud and throwing your hands all around the place. You have big and fast gestures. Okay, when you come to passive is you're becoming submissive, very apologetic. You do not have eye contact. You tend to fidget with lots of things around you, playing with things, maybe just playing with your fingers or a pen. You're finding it difficult to accept the responsibility and accountability. A combination of passive and aggressive is when you are trying to be a little sarcastic. That is where you are indirectly being aggressive. Here, the client or your team or the person with whom you're communicating feel that you are unreliable. You are not being sincere. You're not being true yourself. You are trying to be friendly, but actually you are not friendly. So it's more of a pretense in many things. So this is very negative. Okay, what I just said, these are negative traits. But when I talk about being assertive is not being aggressive, but at the same time, you are putting your point a little strongly and you have a medium pitch. You're not too loud, you're not raising your voice too loud, you are not overreacting to a certain situation. Your body postures are more open, you are more approachable, you have the right eye contact, you have that smiling face, and you put forward your points very strongly, but at the same time, you are ready to adapt and accept the inputs and feedbacks. Similarly, it is very important as a business entrepreneur or when you are into the event industry, there are certain cases or situations where you need to think on your toes and act immediately. Okay, it is all about speaking when it is very necessary. You need to take decisions, you need to act spontaneously, need to take certain calls, though they might not have been scheduled for that particular moment. Okay, so in this, you have to make sure that there is no ambiguity in your thought process or in the chain of communication, the channel that you are using, the words that you're using, the medium that you're using, and the interpretation. All this are in sync. For this, you need to have a very strong analytical reasoning, okay, wherein you have data points, you are able to talk of relevant ideas, you are able to screen certain concepts, and you have the right behavior techniques in its place. So apart from the written and oral and verbal communications, verbal communications could be over calls, it could be in-person meetings, it could be through Zoom calls these days that we have, video conferencing. These are all forms of oral communications or verbal communications. Written communications are your emails, your advertising, your brochures, your hoardings, your newspaper advertisements are all forms of your non-verb print or your written communications. Now, I just have a small activity for you all. According to you, what are the most important skills that an event planner must have? And what, according to you, has a greater impact on a client? Is it verbal communication or is it non-verbal communication? Or do you think a blend of both always helps? So just to summarize what we did in today's session, we spoke about interpersonal skills, verbal communications, written communication, a combination of oral and written methods. Before I take you to the end of the session, I would just like to give you a few tips as aspiring event planners. Okay, so whether you like it or not, it is very important that as an event planner, you are a very strong communicator. Only then ideas can be turned into realities. Your interactions with the clients, with your teams, need to have your basic communications very strong. In case this is not an inborn talent in you, you can always develop this talent by practicing, by upgrading yourselves, by going through some sessions in classes. These days, you have a lot of course material available on YouTube as well. When you are communicating with your clients, it is very important that your client and you have a cordial relationship. At no point of time should you communicate in a manner where you make the client feel that you are superior to the client. Okay, so this requires the right kind of communication abilities and knowledge. It is very important to make your client feel very important, and that is when the client becomes very comfortable and is open in discussions with you. Whenever you have a doubt, always get things in writing, because memories may fail, written documents do not fail. They always support you in times of conflicts, in times of memory losses, the short term memory loss that you have, right? You can always refer back to the written communications. And as event planners, you have two vital roles. One is to ensure objectives are met, and second is that not only you but your entire team and the entire chain delivers as per the deadlines. So all I'd like to say is step into those big events with confidence, with the right objective in mind. Go ahead, have this kind of a nice respectable attitude and be assertive, and I'm sure a lot of events will be coming your way. With this, we come to the close of the session on communication skills and methods of communication. In case you still have any doubts or need some clarification or further help, you can always write to me at anitamakarya@gmail.com. Until then, take care, and looking forward to our next session with you.